And call to order this meeting of the Washington Township School Board. This is our regular meeting. It is Wednesday, June 10th, 2026 at 6 p.m. on the dot. All 5 board members are here in person, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and then before we move on with our agenda, we try to remember the first meeting of every month to read our new mission statement. As a reminder, someone, Mr. Thompson, do that.
The mission of Washington Township Schools is to nurture our students into tomorrow's leaders by cultivating environments that ignite innovation, amplify diverse and critical thinking, and inspire growth and achievement.
All right, moving on, our first agenda item tonight is our board recognitions. Dr. Pettigrew.
Good evening, Board President, Dr. Taylor, members of the board. We are excited to recognize two staff here this evening. We're going to start with Caitlin Fields. Come on up, Caitlin Fields. So Caitlin Fields is a math coach for West Lane Middle School, and she was named as an Otis Excellence Award winner. This prestigious recognition celebrates educators who make a meaningful difference in the lives of students through their dedication, innovation, and purposeful use of data. Her leadership and commitment to leveraging Otis to support teaching and learning have contributed to significant improvements in student outcomes, particularly in middle school mathematics. Congratulations, Caitlin.
Thank you so much. Uh-oh.
All right. And then our second recognition this evening is Andrea McCoy. Please come forward, Ms. McCoy. She also is a coach at West Lane Middle School, and she was selected as an NIET Teacher Leader Fellow for 26-27. This distinguished opportunity recognizes her outstanding leadership, commitment to professional growth, and dedication to supporting both student achievement and educator effectiveness. Through this fellowship, she will continue to strengthen her leadership and instructional coaching skills while contributing to positive outcomes for educators and students. Congratulations, Mrs. McCoy.
Congratulations and thanks.
All right, that concludes our recognitions.
Thank you, Dr. Pettigrew. And thank you to our wonderful staff awardees tonight. Next item on the agenda would be our superintendent's.
Yes, thank you, President Fry. Good evening, board. Good evening, Washington Township community. Just a few announcements this evening. First of all, in your list of attachments there, you do have an updated April supplier development report. Inclusive in that report are vendor reports, the summary report, all within the overall update. Per past practice, we have our biannual legal review and insurance claims update. So you can see current and past legal matters impacting the district at this point in time in the year. Congratulations goes out to our Early Learning Center because they just recently were informed of their achievement in their what is called the Pass of Quality. If you recall, that was originally a couple of years ago. I think we were at a level 2, and we've recently been informed that we are now a level 4, which is the highest level you can receive for that distinction. So congratulations to our Early Learning Center for that. That, if you recall, provides a step-by-step framework that helps providers improve their services and gives parents an easy to understand rating to evaluate the quality of child care programs. So that's kind of the why behind that paths to quality piece. Also, thought it would be important to share with the board. This is an update from Mr. Funk on work-based learning data review. So there's a clickable link there that tracks students' participation in internships, employment, and other work-related experiences that they're having over at JEL. They continue working to place students directly into apprenticeship programs with local construction companies, as well as carpentry apprenticeship unions. In addition, JEL has an MOU with the Midwest Carpenters Union that provides graduates with a direct pathway into their apprenticeship programs upon completion of their studies there at JEL. So just thought that was great data to share with the board and appreciate Mr. Funk providing that for us. And then finally, school improvement end of year review time. We just had 4 meetings today, as a matter of fact, meeting with each of our schools. If you remember past practice, we had a quality assurance process that happened twice per year. This school improvement review is a little more intimate, less people involved, but we're having meaningful conversations about student outcomes, as well as school improvement strategy successes and challenges shaping our efforts moving into school improvement planning for next school year. So wanted to be sure to share a sample of what we ask school leaders to complete. When you click there in that sample link, if you go to page 12, you can see the reflections we ask our leaders to complete. In the past, that was separate from the school improvement plan. Our team decided to merge that all collectively together so that we're continuously reflecting in one document. So that is all for my updates this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Dillon. All right, next item on the agenda is our comments from the public. We do have quite a few folks who have signed in to speak today. And if some people signed in just to say they were here, not to speak, that's okay too. But in the interest of not having to have people have to stand in line, what I'll do is I'll call each name one at a time. And then if there's anybody who wants to speak who isn't on the list, I'll invite folks to do that after that. Since we do have a few speakers tonight, I will very briefly go over the rules per board policy. Duration of comments is limited to 3 minutes per person, no more than 30 minutes per meeting. We do not respond or engage here in this forum. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic, and no comments that are harassing, personally directed, obscene, or irrelevant. So with that, let me invite Ileana Moore. And I'm sorry, if you also, when you come to the podium, if you could just introduce yourself and your residency, if for the record, thank you.
Hi, I'm Ileana Moore, and I'm speaking in support of the referendum. I'm standing here speaking to you today because performing arts taught me that I could. Public speaking used to seem so intimidating, but for 4 years, I've danced in front of crowds of hundreds. We even performed for a crowd of 4,000 people. Show choir has forced me to be able to feel confident in front of a crowd, and that's just one reason why performing arts is so important. Performing arts is about much more than singing, dancing, acting, or working behind the scenes. Through these creative programs, I learned skills that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. I learned how to communicate effectively, work with a team, manage my time, and stay calm under pressure. Whether I'm giving a presentation in college, interviewing for a job, or leading a project in the future, these are skills I will use every day. Performing arts programs help students discover confidence in themselves. They give students a place to belong, a way to express themselves, and opportunities to grow as leaders. The lessons I've learned on or behind stage, I will carry with me far beyond high school. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. And just so other speakers know, historically people give their addresses. I know not everybody wants to give their full address publicly, but if you do approach, if you could at least let us know, are you, a resident of the district? We appreciate just knowing that from a board perspective, as we do take your commentary very seriously and like to know your perspective that it's coming from. I will go ahead and call it Brandon Newsom next.
Good evening. My name is Brandon Newsom, and I do live and work in the district as the school counselor at Crooked Creek Elementary School. Mrs. Kruger, it's nice to see you again. It's always good to see you. For those of you that don't know, I was in counterpoints at North Central during my time, and Ms. Career was a counterpoint mom and always took care of me. Mrs. Davis, it's nice to see you again as well. We got the chance to explore the Galapagos Islands together through a field trip when I was teaching at Westlake Middle School, and she had a son that attended, so that's really nice to see you. I wanted to say just a few comments tonight in favor of the operating referendum. One, as the school counselor at Crooked Creek, I work primarily in tiers 1 and 2. Tier 1 being our social emotional lessons that I do in every classroom every month on topics designed to help students become better people, whether that's about respect, body control, anti-bullying, being kind, self-efficacy, and doing all the things. There's a whole list of things that I teach about. I also support students in the tier 2 realm doing small group counseling that is data-driven to meet the needs of specific students and helping them reach their full potential at Crooked Creek. I want to give a shout out to Jennifer Dodson at the district level for giving the counselors such an awesome platform to get the tools that we need. But I want to also implore the board to vote yes for the operating referendum so that we can continue to have the tools that we need to make those things happen. I want to finish my time today. I did capture a couple quotes from a few of our families at Crooked Creek that I would like to share with you about the impact of a school counselor. One family said, "Mr. Newsom is an invaluable part of the Crooked Creek family. During a difficult time for our family as we worked to find a new normal, he provided my children with a safe and supportive place at school where they felt heard, accepted, and valued." Another family said, "Mr. Newsom's positive impact on Crooked Creek is unmistakable. The school is stronger and more welcoming place because of his dedication, compassion, and leadership. Every student deserves someone who sees them, believes in them, and helps them grow, and Mr. Newsom does exactly that every day." And the cool thing about all of those things from families is that that's not exclusive to Crooked Creek. Those same things are happening in every elementary school because every elementary school this year had a school counselor. So to wrap up my time, I would like to implore you, please vote yes, that critical work can continue to happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Newsom. Next on the list, I have Carla Schmidt.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carla Schmid, 1615 West 54th Street, 46228. Good evening. I am speaking tonight both as a special education teacher in the district and as a parent of a child with special needs. We know that both on the state and federal level, funds and accountability are being diverted away from our special needs population. It is now up to individual school districts to protect our most vulnerable students and ensure students are receiving the supports that they so desperately need. 15% of our student body has an IEP and deserves fully licensed and qualified staff members supporting them. When special education teams are supported and staffed, amazing things can and do happen. Students who start the year unable to speak can learn to communicate their needs. Students flagged for dyslexia can begin to blend sounds and read words. And some students, such as my son, can enter our developmental preschool program at the age of 3 and receive such successful interventions that they no longer qualify for services by high school. Growth is always possible, but only if we have qualified staff leading the way. In our public schools, nothing happens in a vacuum. In order for all students to demonstrate growth in our schools, we also rely on our qualified school counselors, social workers, and E&L staff. We are an interconnected web of supports that cannot function without all of us working together. I have heard that if we are not able to renew our operating referendum this fall, district leadership will be forced to cut over 300 positions. If this were to become a reality, that web of supports that our students and families so desperately need would fall apart. And I know that everyone in this room is going to fight to make sure that that does not happen. I urge you to vote in support of renewing our operating referendum this fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schmidt. I have Carly Bromley.
Hello, my name is Carly Bromley, and I am a Washington Township parent, 8427 Spring Mill Road, with 2 children currently attending North Central High School. Our family has been involved in many of the athletic programs offered in our district, including volleyball, softball, wrestling, and football. Those experiences, I have seen firsthand that athletics provide much more than competition. They give kids a place to belong and trusted adults to guide them during some of the most important years of their lives. As a parent and as someone who serves on our booster organizations, I have seen the realities behind the scenes. I've watched our booster clubs work tirelessly to fill gaps that directly impact students. We raise money not just for extras, but necessities. We provide team meals before and after games that may be the only substantial meal that the child receives that day. No student should have to choose between participating in school activities and having their basic needs met. I have also seen booster organizations use funds raised by parents and the community members to replace equipment for our football program that should have been updated years ago. While we are proud to step up and support our schools, there are some needs that cannot and should not rest solely on the fundraising efforts and volunteers. Our students deserve safe equipment, quality facilities, and opportunities that allow them to compete with neighboring districts and other schools our size. More importantly, they deserve access to programs that build confidence, character, and community. Athletics are an extension of the educational experience. The lessons learned through sports prepare our students for success far beyond graduation. I encourage the board to support placing this referendum renewal before voters so that our community can continue investing in the programs and opportunities that have such a profound impact on the lives of Washington Township students. Thank you for your time, your service, and your commitment to our children.
Thank you, Ms. Bromley. Michelle Washington.
Good evening, Michelle Washington. I live at 1425 Osita Court. I'm here to talk to you today about advanced placement classes and the DLI program, the dual language program. We have 3 children in Washington Township. We have 1 at North Central, 1 at West Lane, and 1 at Willow Lake. We're very busy. Our daughter recently completed the AP Human Geography class this last school year at North Central. Advanced placement classes allow students to engage with rigorous college-level materials while still in high school. Students learn critical thinking, time management, analytical writing, and problem solving. This particular course helped our daughter discover what she's capable of and will helpfully make the transition to college smoother and more successful. AP participation also demonstrates to colleges and employers that students are willing to challenge themselves and persevere through the demanding coursework. Our younger daughters are currently in the DLI program at West Lane and at Willow Lake. Our daughter, who will be in the 7th grade at West Lane, was part of the first DLI class. It has been a phenomenal experience for our girls. Recent research consistently shows that bilingual students often develop stronger cognitive flexibility, improved problem-solving abilities, and greater cultural awareness. Just as importantly, dual language education helps students appreciate diverse perspectives and fosters understanding across cultures. We feel that our daughter's participation in both advanced academics and language learning has given them a unique advantage. They have become stronger communicators, more adaptable learners, and are better prepared to work in diverse environments. These skills are not only beneficial for our daughters, they strengthen our entire community by preparing future leaders that can collaborate, innovate, and engage effectively with people from different backgrounds. As we make educational priorities and decisions about those priorities, I encourage the board to vote yes to include the referendum on the ballot this November. It is important that students from all backgrounds have the opportunity to participate and benefit from these transformative experiences like my girls. Thank you so much for your time and for your commitment to our students.
Thank you, Ms. Washington. Next, I have Leslie Bowles.
Good evening. My name is Leslie Bowles. I'm a Washington Township resident. I live at 7460 Jewel Lane. And I'm proud to say my connection to Washington Township runs deep. I'm a proud alumna And today, I'm equally proud to send my 3 children through the same hallways, programs, and community that shaped who I am. They participate in sports, robotics club, artistically talented, student government, I'm not done, AP courses, high ability program, all of which are available through our schools. This district gave me something invaluable, and I'm committed to making sure every child who walks to the door of any school in our district has access to the same opportunity. That's why I'm standing in support of the referendum for our district. What makes this district special, it's not just our academic excellence, it's the richness and it's the diversity and it's the promise that holds for every family, no matter what side of town they live on, what background they have, or what circumstance, they'll have access to a high quality education. And high quality education systems don't just sustain themselves, it requires consistent investment and a community that's willing to show up when it matters most. So for me, this referendum, it's more than about budgets and line items. It's about ensuring that every classroom is properly resourced, every teacher is supported, and every child in every corner of our district has an equitable shot at a great education. It's also about protecting what we've built together and making sure the next generation inherits something even better. As a parent, alumna, and member of this community, I know what this district means, and I urge the school board to vote yes to include the referendum renewal on the ballot this November. Not just for our children, but for the kind of community we want to continue to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bowles. That is everyone that has signed up, but if anyone else did want to address the board at this time, I would invite you to approach the podium. Mr. Phillips, you weren't here when I read the rules, but I think you know them by now, right?
Do you want me to memorize them? You want me to say them back to you?
I think we're good.
Jerry Phillips, 7102 Allisonville Road. Very brief comment. As I was recently in a discussion and someone mentioned the upcoming pending referendum, and they had a great level of confusion between a construction referendum and an operating referendum. I encourage the board, and in knowing you will, as well as the staff and certainly Ms. Smith, to make that point very clear to everyone. The person I was talking to looked at me like I had worms crawling out of my head when I was talking about 2 different budgets. So I just pass that on to you as a point of information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. All right, was there anyone else who wanted to address the board tonight? All right, seeing none, I will go ahead and move on with our agenda for the night, and we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Dr. Kaiser.
Thank you. President Fry, members of the board, I recommend that you approve the consent agenda for this meeting. The consent agenda includes approval of the minutes of the May 13th, 2026 regular board meeting and the memoranda of the May 13th, 2026 and the May 22nd, 2026 executive sessions. Approval of 2 payroll calculation summary reports, a special personnel item in accordance with Indiana Code 20-26-5-11.2, a claims docket in the amount of $10,064,076.03, a board memo on approval of the proposal to change workday calendars, a board memo on the approval of the proposal to amend 2025-2026 administrator fringe benefits, and a board memo on approval of the proposal to amend the classified pay restructure. It also includes a human resources report for classified personnel with 2 new hires, numbers 280 and 281, 31 resignations, numbers 168 through 198, 6 retirements, numbers 6 through 11, 6 terminations, numbers 28 through 33, and 5 leaves, numbers 57 through 61. For certified personnel, 22 new appointments, numbers 28 through 49, 11 resignations, numbers 75 through 85, 1 termination, number 1, and 3 transfers for 26-27, numbers 12 through 14. There are 2 non-competitive grants, gifts, or donations to present for board approval. The 2025 through 2027 Title III Immigrant Influx Funding from the Indiana Department of Education in the amount of $25,405, and the Simon Youth Foundation Academy Assistance Fund, which was previously the Simon Youth Foundation Capacity Building Grant, in the amount of $5,500. Information has been provided for you in your board packets for review.
Thank you. Board, were there any questions or comments before we vote on the consent agenda? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented by Dr. Kaiser. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I'll go ahead and call the vote since this is the consent agenda. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And the ayes have it 5-0. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our action items. Very exciting one for number one, which would be a resolution to renew our current operating referendum. Mrs. Smith and Mr. Kaiser.
I think we're going to start out with Dr. Taylor introducing some things, and then we'll take over from there.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Smith. Good evening again, Board. Tonight, we will be proposing a resolution for renewal of our current operating referendum. Thank you, Mr. Phillips, for that. As you know, we've been analyzing this throughout the course of this school year, looking at budget projections and forecasting and trying to determine what is going to be in the best interest to sustain the progress that we've made in this district. We gave you a referendum update last board meeting, and we shared our proposal for what we believe is best. We shared that proposal with the community as well, and we want to reiterate that this proposal is not something that we take lightly. We know that anytime we ask our community for support like this, it is a big ask. And so we have done our due diligence in preparing and analyzing and looking at all the different angles and looking at the numbers, but it is very challenging to budget 8 years out. And so we have been looking at the years past and continue to look at what lies ahead. And so we want to make sure that we, above all, are able to sustain the funding for what we believe we're going to need for the next 8 years, because we also believe that that funding equates to sustaining our progress for Washington Township Schools. So we do encourage all families and community members to review the facts and stay informed as additional information becomes available. Tonight, we are going to share some of those resources and information throughout this presentation before we ask for your approval, because some of the resources will include frequently asked questions, because we do believe that there's a lot of myths versus facts out there and some misunderstandings regarding referendum and referendum history in Washington Township Schools and particularly. And so that's available on our district website. We just built this new robust website, which we believe answers every question. And so very boldly at the top, you will see that this is about sticking to our commitments and seeing results. And as you scroll down from that, which you'll see a little video from me talking a little bit more about the operating referendum renewal, but you'll see this is not about anything new. This is not about new buildings. This is about sustaining the staff who are doing the great work, moving the needle and making the difference for our students. That's all this is at the same rate. And we do know that there will be a lot of districts who will be seeking an operating referendum, and most of those districts will be asking for more. And so we're very fortunate in Washington Township that we believe we can get by with that same rate, even though we know that that same rate will generate less dollars for the district. We also understand that that will have a savings to the majority of our property tax owners as well, because of the impact from SEA 1. And so pending your approval tonight, we will be updating our community again on the outcome of this vote this evening, but we'll also share more about this website and start educating our community on an ongoing basis about why we need their support and continued support, as we've been so blessed to have in the years past. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Smith, who's going to get a little more granular. And then Dr. Kaiser and Mr. Long with Ice Miller is our legal counsel, who's here to help answer questions at the conclusion as well. So thank you for being here, Mr. Long. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Taylor, members of the board, community. As Dr. Taylor indicated, we have built this robust website to be transparent, a regular financial hub. So you'll see here, as we go back down through, he did the introduction, but then we want to take you to a couple of our different areas where we were trying to explain the why and give more details for the average person that doesn't live in this day to day. So here you'll see under Project Our Project Progress, school funding. When you open this up, you'll see all the different buckets of our school funding, our education fund, and it states, you know, how that's divided up here at Washington Township. Then you'll see our operations fund, which we receive the money there for local property taxes and how that budget is divided. Then you see our operating referendum fund that we're talking about this evening for the renewal. And you'll see how we have divided that out over the last 6 years. And then we also have what's called a debt service fund. So it gives information on that we pay for long-term building and facilities updates through that debt service fund. We also have federal funding, but however, the federal funding has restrictions for each type of federal funding. So it goes into detail about the federal funding. And then the next section is financial reports and budgets. So we will keep adding to this throughout the year and continue to do so. It shows our 2026 budget order that lets us know the tax rates, the property tax levies, all those different types of things, our budgets. And then we also have our quarterly board reports that we'll keep on listing here for the public to see those board reports that go to our board and presented to them and approved at board meetings. Then you go down through and it shows you the history of Indiana school funding reform. And each one of these, if you hover over them, gives you information more in detail on the reform throughout the years, all the way to today. Then we move down into SEA 1, and you'll see here where we have some accordion information on the bottom, on the left-hand side here, where you can expand each, and it explains what it says under each one of these. So for instance, if I expand all, it gives you that information on what changed, why this matters, impact on Washington Township, the big picture. So you'll see that throughout this website, explaining in more detail for our community. Then at each one of them, you'll see where at the very bottom, you can go to the next section. We'll go to the section that talks about referendum. We heard that from the gentleman earlier, talking about what is a referendum in school, the different types of referendums that schools can ask for. There are 3 main types: operating referendum for day to day. It shows all this in detail when you expand those accordions. We have capital construction referendum that we've done in the past here at Washington Township that we are not going out for one of those right now. We're going out for our regular operating referendum renewal. And then also some districts have what's called a safety referendum that are aimed directly toward certain safety features throughout the district. And then here we are for understanding our referendums here at Washington Township. And it talks about, and it shows the history, how in 2009, it was an operating referendum. In 2016 and 2020, we had a capital referendums. And then also in 16 and 2020, operating referendum. So we have that information there. On the right is a presentation that we have done through our board meetings to show different information and how those buckets drill down for what we're spending our referendums under, in what areas, and also the capital improvements that we made throughout the district. So people can click on that also. Then we'll move on to the 2026 renewal page. This is a lot of information, wondering, okay, why are we going out for a renewal in 2026 versus waiting until 2028? And all this information you'll see on this page, also with the accordion information on the left. And then you'll see just general information as you're going down. It also goes into, the cost increases. All of us know, not just here at Washington Township, within our district, we know this in our own homes, how costs have risen. And then we go into, okay, what would happen if this referendum is not renewed? and the reductions that would need to take place with that. We have over 300 staff that are paid out of our referendum. And then, of course, we have here that goes into the human impact that I just talked about, our student achievement that has risen, and then also how our property values have increased in our district. Then we move on to our points of pride. Some of you may or may not have seen this flyer throughout the district, and it talks about everything that we've done in our district to date, about our students, our graduation rates, and other information on there for some reading. Moving on to the last main section here is understanding your tax bill. We wanted people to be able to dissect, decode, understand what a regular property tax bill is without being a CFO like myself. So we wanted to be able to dub it down so that people would understand what their tax bill means. So on the right-hand side, we have a summary of that, of the different aspects of your property tax bill and how those credits and calculations apply. And then on the left-hand side, when we expand all these, it goes into more granular detail of, okay, what is a net assessed value? I don't even know what assessed value is. Gross, net, what does all that mean? What are the credits that I see on my tax bill? What are those regulations? Where does all the information and all my money go when I pay my tax bill? And we have a list there. It's just not schools. It's all the other governments that we have throughout our county. And then last but not least, under this number 4, we actually have where you click on the black sections and it shows an actual tax bill. And then on the one right below that is actually a presentation that walks you through the whole thing, unlike the summary that you have on the right. Then what we have here, Dr. Taylor was talking about this, we have the impact of what this renewal would be for the homeowners. And as you can see here, the majority of the homeowners, even with this renewal at the same rate, we're receiving less dollars, but the majority of the taxpayers will pay less with their property tax with this renewal at the same rate. We also included a tax estimator, and just wanted to kind of show you this, that the person, if they know their approximate value of their house, I'll use that as an example. Say mine is $250,000. You type 250 in there, you hit calculate, and it gives you the estimate of what you would pay on your property taxes. So that is for all the homeowners to utilize to see what their tax bill would be like with this renewal. Last but not least, I want to go back to the front page and I want to show you what Dr. Taylor was talking about, how we even have a section in here underneath those, myth versus facts. In this, we like to, we have a statement, and then we want to give the factual information that are common misconceptions that are out there. So those are for reading pleasure also, each one of those. Schools are fully funded by the state already, as an example. Then it goes down to say, no, it's not. This is how it's funded. So the public can look at those. Also with the frequent asked questions section. So there's a lot of that detail also in the FAQ section. And last but not least, before I turn it over to Dr. Kaiser, we want people to stay informed. We have this new section here on the website where it talks about newsletters, attending board meetings, a place where you can email your questions directly, a place to register to vote. Those different aspects to be all inclusive for the person that wants to know about our operating referendum renewal. And that is a general overview. I know that was a fast overview, but it's there for the public to be able to utilize, and we will keep on adding information as it progresses throughout this year. And next, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Kaiser to summarize some more information for you.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith and board. Before the presentation of the resolution, I just wanted to highlight a new legally required aspect of the resolution that has not been required in the past. The board will notice an addendum to the resolution that includes spending plans for a total of 15 charter schools. Based on a recent change to Indiana law, newly proposed school referenda, whether they are a new referendum or a renewal, must share any funds approved by the public with charter schools. These can be charter schools inside the township or outside the township. The requirement for a charter school to participate is that they have a single student who legally resides in Washington Township enrolled in their schools. Within your documents this evening, you will see that we estimate the impact of this for the first year of a renewed referendum is roughly $360,000 in 2027 that would be given to charter schools rather than to students enrolled in Washington Township, should the current referendum be successfully renewed. Additionally, I did want to remind the board of the limited ability that you or the district I just wanted to remind the board of the limited ability you or the district has to determine how the referendum renewal question will be worded on the ballot. I know that as I read the question, there may be some who would like to see it phrased a bit more directly or with fewer words. However, I just wanted to remind the public and the board that the format of the question is a function of Indiana law, and the final question language is provided to us by the Department of Local Government Finance. We are then required to include that language in the resolution and request that it is placed on the ballot using the wording that and format that we have been given. I think that's me. With that, I am happy to share the resolution before the board this evening. Whereas Indiana Code 20-46-1 as amended permits a public school corporation to adopt a resolution to place a referendum on the ballot if the governing body of the school corporation determines that the school corporation cannot, in a calendar year, carry out its public educational duty unless it imposes a referendum tax levy under the act. And whereas pursuant to the act, the voters of Washington Township approved a referendum tax levy in 2020 with a maximum tax rate of 25 cents for 8 years. And whereas the administration and the board of school trustees of the school corporation have been investigating the need for a potential renewal of its 2020 referendum in order to fund essential educational and operational expenses of the school corporation. And whereas the school board of trustees of the school corporation, being the governing body of the school corporation, has determined that based on current revenue calculations for the years 2027 through and including 2034, the school corporation will not be able to carry out its public educational duty unless it continues to annually impose a referendum tax levy in accordance with the act. And whereas pursuant to the act, a copy of a proposed revenue spending plan was presented to the board, which is attached to this resolution as Exhibit A1, the revenue spending plan. Whereas based on the foregoing, the board now desires to adopt a resolution to place a referendum on the November 3rd, 2026 ballot under the act in order to renew the existing 2020 referendum. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this board hereby determines that based on current revenue calculations for the years 2027 through and including 24, the school corporation will not be able to carry out its public educational duty unless it continues to impose a maximum annual referendum property tax rate of 25 cents and imposes a maximum annual referendum property levy of $24 million starting in 2027 through and including 2034. Be it further resolved that the school corporation has substantially complied with the procedures required by Indiana Code 20-46-1 through 8 regarding the voluntary participation of charter schools in the referendum tax levy. Certain charter schools timely responded in writing with a desire to participate. Therefore, the school corporation plans to distribute revenue from the referendum tax levy deposited with the school corporation to certain charter schools. The individual revenue spending plans of such charter schools are hereby incorporated by reference and are included in Exhibit A2 attached hereto and made a part hereof. Be it further resolved that there shall be placed on a ballot to be considered in a referendum of the registered voters residing in the boundaries of the school corporation at an election to be held on November 3rd, 2026, a question in substantially the following format, subject to completion and determination of certain information by the Marion County Auditor as required by law and subject to approval by the Indiana Department of Local Government Finance. Question reads, shall MSD of Washington Township continue to increase property taxes paid to the school corporation for no more than 8 years for the purpose of repealing the existing referendum tax rate and replacing the existing referendum tax rate with a new rate that will provide funding for retaining teachers and staff, for improved student safety, increased student support services, as well as expanded academic programming in alignment with the new diploma requirements by imposing a property tax rate that does not exceed 25 cents and results in a maximum annual amount that does not exceed $24 million. If this operating referendum public question is not approved by the voters for a median residence of $300,000, the property's annual property tax bill would decrease by $351 a year. If this operating referendum public question is approved by the voters, it would be a renewal of the most recent operating referendum public question passed in 2020 with a property tax rate of 25 cents. Be it further resolved that the superintendent, assistant superintendent of operational services, or chief financial officer, or the president or secretary of the board be and hereby is authorized to certify a copy of this resolution to the DLGF in accordance with the act. Be it further resolved that the revenue spending plan presented at this meeting and attached hereto as Exhibit A1 is hereby approved and adopted. Further, the board finds that such a plan may be amended and supplemented each year as part of the school corporation's annual budget process as permitted by Indiana Code 20-46-18G and all other applicable laws. Be it further resolved that any officer of the board and the administration each hereby is authorized, empowered, and directed on behalf of the school corporation to take any and all action as such person deems necessary or desirable to effectuate the foregoing resolutions, including but not limited to requesting the Marion County Auditor determine certain information for the aforementioned form of the public question as required by the Act, and making any required revisions to the aforementioned form of the public question or a replacement of such question in its entirety in order to receive approval from the DLGF. Further, that all such actions heretofore made or taken by the board or the administration be and hereby are ratified and approved. This concludes my presentation of the resolution. Mrs. Smith and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Board, any questions? Mr. Thompson.
I know that it's in the information on the website, but can you kind of outline, like, if the operating referendum does not pass, what's at stake?
So as we shared, and the information in detail is there, this is a referendum about positions and people in our district. So if the operating referendum were to not be renewed, we would have to make very serious decisions about what staffing levels we could continue to afford to have in the district. It would result in, we would be reducing our staff.
Thank you.
Anything else? Mr. Turner?
I'm sorry, I did not see this before this meeting, and it may be answered somewhere and I don't know it, so excuse me. When you look at the charter school disbursement, it has a different max levy. Is that purposely?
The maximum levy presented in the question, Mr. Turner, that 25-cent tax rate, we certainly control. The maximum levy is driven by assessed valuation, and that maximum is for the 8 years of the question. And so a potential max levy based on 8 years. The charter schools are the 2027 estimation of what we think that levy might be.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Anything else? Do I have a motion?
Move that we approve the resolution to renew our current operating referendum as presented by Mrs. Smith and Dr. Kaiser.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Can I make a comment at this point?
Yes.
And Dr. Taylor mentioned it, I'm sure the rest of the board would think the same thing. These decisions, especially around referendum, are never easy, and it's not easy to ask, folks to pay more for their property taxes, to help support the schools. A lot of our residents don't have kids in our schools, and why would I do it? So I really appreciate the website and all the details that are there can help folks like Mr. Phillips when he's talking to people to direct them to that particular site. So I just want to say thank you for doing it that way. It's never an easy decision for us to, as a board, to make the call on doing this. But it's one of those things where our hand has been forced based on some things that happened downtown. So appreciate all your work on that.
Thank you. And I will just say as a comment before we vote, and I'll keep saying it, I will be voting for this based on the fact that this resolution is keeping the same tax rate. This is a renewal of the existing tax rate, and it's not an increase or a new ask. And I'll keep repeating that over and over. And it's for people, not for Bill. Anything else? I will go ahead and let's see, it was moved and seconded already. So I will call the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That resolution is approved 5-0. Thank you. All right, moving on with our agenda tonight, further action items. We will go to Dr. Whitman for administrator compensation structure.
Good evening. Dr. Taylor, President Fry, and members of the board. I come to you tonight seeking approval of the proposal to discontinue the 96, 98, 100 level 1 and level 2 administrator compensation structure for new hires. The administration respectfully requests board approval to discontinue the district's current 96, 98, 100 compensation progression model for newly hired and promoted level 1 and level 2 administrators effective July 1, 2026. Under the proposed revision, all newly hired administrators will begin at 100% of their established salary for their respective positions. The current tiered progression model was originally implemented to address compensation equity concerns between internal and external hires. However, over time, it has created administrative and accounting complexities related to tracking multi-year compensation adjustments, transfers, promotions, and budget allocations. The transitioning to this new removal of this model improves our operational efficiency and establishes a transparent and competitive compensation philosophy for administrative recruitment and retention. The revised structure maintains compliance with Indiana code and the district's performance-based compensation plan while eliminating unnecessary procedural burdens and creating clear, more predictable compensation framework for incoming leadership. And with that, I respectfully would suggest you approve.
Board, any questions?
Yeah, so if I'm understanding this correctly, so a new administrator, assistant principal, for example, will come in at 100%, will come in at what they should be making anyways.
That is correct. However, when compensation increases typically happen in the fall, they would not receive an immediate compensation increase because they would not have been with the district to have a performance appraisal upon which to base that increase on. Now, in their second year, after having fulfilled that first year and being evaluated, there would be an opportunity to true that up, assuming that they comply with the performance-based increases that would result from an effective or highly effective rating.
Will there ever be a time with this new that like a brand new administrator will come in and make more than like a current administrator?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Six.
If I understand this correctly, and I'm basically asking you to correct me if I'm wrong, a new administrator will make the same amount as an administrator that's been here for 10 years.
In the second year, if they have complied with the performance appraisal system and are highly effective or effective, then yes, ma'am.
So a second year administrator and a 15-year administrator will make the same amount of money.
That is correct. Our current model does the same. It just takes 3 years to get to that versus having it happen in the second year. So that's just the timeline of when that happens to simplify the process.
Any further questions? Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the proposal to discontinue the 96, 98, 100 level 1 and 2 administrator compensation hires as presented by Dr.
Been moved and seconded. I'll call the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no.
No.
And that passes 4-1. Thank you. Calling back Dr. Kaiser back up for first a second reading, and then the next item after that will be a first reading of policy.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor, President Fry, members of the board. I also come to you this evening as seeking approval of changes to board policies that were presented to the board as a first reading at our May 13th board meeting last month. Specifically, A200, firearms, weapons, and destructive devices. This adds new language from HEA 1343 to include imitation firearms. A275, which is school wellness. Updates have been made regarding training requirements, drinking water, and fundraisers from recent Indiana Department of Health guidance. C175, which is student attendance, academic engagement, and truancy prevention. It updates the excused absences related to active duty service and participation in the Civil Air Patrol. C525, which is medical needs at school, and that includes updates regarding the use of AEDs under HEA 1004. D475, which is justifiable decrease in teaching positions. This updates and removes the language for teachers awaiting test scores as a component of evaluation. It's kind of a throwback to when we didn't have scores and it was a required piece. F101, which is a new policy on budget adoption and implementation. The new policy establishes the board's authority to manage financial affairs for the district and follows DLGF guidance in adopting and implementing the budget. F125 is purchasing procedures and capital assets. It adds new language regarding prohibited contract provisions and adds services as a definition for reference. G325, which is free and reduced price meals. It's an update to include language on the protection of privacy. H125, which is district support organizations, and it's been updated to make explicit that school corporations are not responsible for the finances of approved district support organizations. And finally, H150, which is public records, which adds new language from HEA 1360 on data scraping, phishing requests, as well as out-of-state. So that concludes my presentation of the second reading of these policies, and I would recommend that these changes be approved.
Dr. Kaiser, there were no changes to these between first reading last time and this one, right?
There were not.
Okay. Any other questions?
Really just.
Go ahead.
Just want, for the purpose of the public, these are reviewed by the board policy committee in detail, and just want the board to know.
Do I have a motion?
Move that we approve the second reading of revisions and additions to board policies as presented by Dr. Kaiser.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And that passes 5-0. And Dr. Kaiser, we have one first reading of one policy.
Yes, and that is a first reading of a revision to policy A301 for the board to review. This is regarding wireless communication devices. In alignment with recent changes to Indiana code, this recommendation revises language that was previously required that student devices be inaccessible during instructional time. Student devices under Indiana code are now required to be stored away, powered off, and inaccessible throughout the school day under the law, and this captures that change. Additionally, students are only allowed to use school-sanctioned wireless devices when directed by a teacher for educational purposes during the school day. As is our practice, I have provided you a red line copy of the changes to the policy in your board documents for this evening, as well as a fully revised version of the policy as it will be read if approved at a future board meeting. Additionally, as this policy change would require changes to the student code of conduct and student handbooks, the draft edits to those documents will also be available for the board to review before we seek to finalize those policy changes at the July board meeting. So those will be available for you to review before that time. And again, Mr. Thompson's point, the board policy committee has met and reviewed these revisions. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have regarding the proposed revisions to board policy A300.
Mr. Thompson, excuse me.
Dr. Kaiser, the Indiana Department of Education is going to be issuing guidance to local LEAs, right? To best, but they have not yet done that.
That is correct. We have yet to see that guidance, and when we do, we will certainly review and incorporate.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Turner.
This is not, this is really kind of a, never mind, because we can adjust this policy over time. So right now, you know, I'm glad to see the language being added about a smartwatch, et cetera, but who knows what the next technology will be. So we'd have to come back and adjust that too. So I as I'm reading and thinking about the question, I'm answering it for myself. So thank you. That's good. I'm good with my answer.
And then one last question. These are directly related to legislation that was passed this last legislative session, and we were required by state statute to adopt these, right?
We are making these changes.
Thank you.
Do you have a motion?
Move that we approve the first reading of revisions to board policy A301 as presented by Dr. Kaiser.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that passes 5-0. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the RoboKind grant. Dr. Skibinski.
President Fry, Dr. Taylor, members of the board, I come to you today as Director of Student Services to seek your approval in engaging in a RoboKind grant, specifically through the IDOE in the amount of $17,570. House Act Enrolled 1001 provides the allocation of $1,350,000 across the biennium to grants to purchase technology and professional development endorsed by the Council of Special Education. These RoboKind grants are virtual avatars that are engaging, that are leveraged for students to engage with their communication as well as social skills and phonics. RoboKind supports research-based curriculum, again, across social skills, phonics. These programs were developed with autism experts, educators, and clinicians to better support communication, behavior development, and early literacy in students with special needs. The district has identified 12 students and 7 facilitators in which we would like to pilot this grant. And we are seeking your approval to write and submit the grant in this amount. It is a non-competitive grant, so we are looking to participate and come back and share the details and the data we collect. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Ms. Kruger.
Just curious, did they give you the number 12 students and 7 facilitators, or that?
They did not. If you look at in the action item, you can see exactly how I broke it out. What we did is we worked with our building leaders to identify our nonverbal students who would benefit from such a model. So working with our building leaders and our special education teachers, we identified 12 students. So then we have 3 facilitators, which also includes some of our instructional assistants, which is why we came to the number of.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Davis.
As I read through this earlier, I was trying to figure out, is this a virtual program, or is this something where they're gonna send us a box of stuff?
It's a virtual program, so it's avatars. So what it does is it's coming alive. So we know that a lot of our nonverbal students, we need that rich language environment. And so what they're doing is they're engaging. So it's that back and forth discourse, but it's measuring that kind of that back and forth communication. And it's just done in a really exciting way, but it cultivates the behavior and phonics and all the things that we're working for with our students.
So it's like
Like
I'm
a-
having a conversation with something on the.
You are, yes. And so you're
Okay.
getting to practice in multiple ways through behavior, through phonics, and through all of those core contents. So it's
So-
additional tier 2, tier 3.
Gotcha. So the learning kits, maybe just really high level, what would be in a learning kit?
Yeah, so I think the learning kits are going to come with the alignment of the curriculum. So we're looking at what are the standards and then what are those special education standards. So those learning kits are going to identify those pathways because our children have to be engaged in those standards. And so that's what the learning kits will include. What is the progression? What is the map, right? What is the curriculum map, et cetera? So that maps it out for our faculty.
Thank you.
Great questions. Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the submission of RoboCon grant as presented by Dr. Skabinski.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that is approved 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Skibitsky. Action item number 6, capital project change orders. Mr. Boots, nice to see you again.
Good evening, Madam President and Dr. Taylor and members of the board. I am here this evening asking for approval of 2 project change orders. The first one is number 006 for Skillman Davis Joint Venture at the Washington Township Services Center. And this number 2 is change order number 002 to Skillman Davis Joint Venture for the J. Everett Life Career Center. Before I conclude my presentation, I'd like to introduce our fearless Director of Operation, Ms. Britt Smith, with a few additional comments.
Thank you, Mr. Boots. Thank you, Board, Dr. Taylor. And so I just wanted to give a little bit more information regarding the JEL scope because you see, and Mr. Boots will eventually give that number. He did that yet. So in terms of the cost, because it is a big increase to the contract, the Skillman's contract. But I also would like to start by emphasizing that while the additional scope for JEL is being presented as a change order, it's not a typical change order resulting from modifications to the originally approved project scope, unforeseen field conditions, design omissions, or missed items during the planning and design process. So many times we bring those types of change orders to you, right? So this is a total change, but it's for additional scope. And so we're asking for additional funding to go toward that scope to Skillman's contract for JEL. So as a reminder, the original JEL project scope was primarily focused on critical infrastructure improvements, including HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and sanitary system upgrades. While these essential building systems represented a significant investment, they limited the available funding for interior enhancements such as flooring, painting, casework, restroom renovations, new partitions and fixtures, as well as ADA accessibility improvements to those restrooms. So if you recall, throughout all of our projects, we said we had an approved budget and we were sticking to that approved budget through the process unless we came to you with approval to make a change to that budget for whatever that scope might be. But we originally tried to fit the scope within that budget. And as you recall, we went through a lot of challenges during COVID and with construction increases. And even though we had built inflation and we did all those things, we were still sticking to the original budget, which also meant we had to limit the scope. And again, I want to emphasize that that original budget scope went to that type of infrastructure, which I call more back of the house. So when you walk through JEL, if you were to do that with the current budget and scope that we had, So you might not see some of the things which I'm gonna talk about. You're not gonna see some of the, maybe some of those interior finishes that you were able to see throughout all of our other renovated facilities. So the proposed change order addresses these needs by extending improvements throughout the majority of the JEL facility, creating learning environments that are, oh, sorry, let me go back. Yes, so that's, because we're focusing more on the interior finishes as well as improvements to some labs. So the proposed change order addresses the needs by extending improvements throughout the majority of the JEL facility, creating learning environments that are more consistent with the standard established in our previously renovated schools. In addition, this change order includes enhancements to both the HVAC lab, cosmetology lab, which is a new cosmetology lab in terms of this change order, and culinary instructional, the culinary instructional lab. The HVAC lab was originally identified as part of the District Lilly Grant Phase 3 application, and planning for this work obviously began about a year ago. So we've been working on all of this because all of these changes kind of overlap in various stages within the construction project and the things that we were trying to work on along the way, such as the Lilly grant. JEL also submitted for a pastry lab grant that they also didn't receive during this whole process. So the capital projects team intentionally deferred the decisions regarding the scope until the grants were determined, but unfortunately those grants were not funded, being the Lilly Phase 3 grant and the pastry lab grant that JEL independently went out for. So to better support student learning, the new expanded cosmetology lab will accommodate all aspects of a beauty work-based learning experience and provide beauty services for the community. This expanded lab approach eliminates the smaller existing lab, leaving the existing larger lab with minimal project upgrade. So currently there were two labs, one very, 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 very small lab, probably smaller than most classrooms. And then we have the larger lab, which we put very minimal improvements in with the current budget. So, the culinary arts lab was also identified throughout this process as a priority for improvement. Because the original project already included extensive underground sanitary work within the area, completing these upgrades that we would like to do for this lab concurrently is both operationally efficient and cost-effective, minimizing future disruptions and avoiding duplicate construction costs if we do it now versus later. So that sanitary work is happening this summer. So if we were going to make these improvements, we need to make those decisions now. Otherwise, we're going to go back in and be cutting into floor, et cetera, and taking out, we had to take out casework, do the sanitary work, that would be putting in casework and then going back and redoing some of that. So this would avoid, this scope that we're asking for would avoid doing that. So although not all the items included in this change order were part of the Lilly grant application, the capital projects team has continued to evaluate additional facility needs and opportunities to elevate JEL to the same level of quality and functionality as other recently renovated schools. So throughout this process, project budgets have been closely monitored and in alignment with the overall approved capital referendum program budgets. So as the district's 2016 and 2020 referendum capital projects near completion and through ongoing budget reviews conducted in partnership with our CFO, Becky Smith, we are confident that this additional investment can be accommodated while still maintaining our commitment to be fiscally responsible. So we're at the point where we're closing out many of the projects. We've come to you with savings over time through the shared savings and other reduced costs. And so we constantly are monitoring that and meeting as a group to see where we are before we ever come to you and ask for any additional funds to go toward the capital projects. So at this time, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Boots and he can finish the process for the change.
Smith. So we will ask approval of these two change orders presented. The total cost, the financial impact is $4,434,181 and will be fully funded from capital referendum. Be happy to respond to any questions.
Any questions, board? Mr. Kern?
Just one quick one. I was going through your document just to make sure I don't answer my own question again. So I see that, obviously our architecture firm, Schmidt, is, so I'm assuming their fees, I didn't see them listed, I don't think.
They're on the attachment to the actual change order itself.
Itself, it's an attachment? Okay, I didn't get that far. So that was just making sure we won't get another change order to add their fees to this. It's all built in. The design, yeah. Okay. I saw everybody else, I just didn't see them, so thank you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Move that we approve the 2016-2020 capital project change order.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Can I make just a quick comment? I'm sorry. I'm talking a lot tonight. I gotta stop that. So I just want to say in general, this is just for the good of the order, that, that Lilly Phase 3 grant, I know we did not receive it, but I've been in contact with other superintendents, and I won't name them, who did receive it. And what they're doing with that money is similar to what you're trying to do here. They're expanding, they're making different centers that they can send students to, and that's how they got the funding. So if anything we can do to upgrade JEL, which is already a great facility, to upgrade JEL, I think is a real bonus for us. So I know we didn't get the money to do it that way, but if we could figure out a way to do it this way, that's great.
You know, and just add to that, but I think it speaks volumes to our fiscal management that we're able to still make this happen and that we're intentional about how we did it. So thank you to the team for that.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call the vote then. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it 5-0. Thank you. And you get to stay up there for action item number 7, the Clearwater parking lot project change order, which is a nice one.
One final change order request this evening. Thank you. Change order number 001 to Berkler Incorporated on the Clearwater parking lot expansion project. This is a decrease request of $25,000. We are simply raking back an unused allowance such as within their contract. We had no additional change orders or expenses for that rather small project. So this will close that project, and that money will be brought back into the operations fund. Be happy to answer questions.
Questions? Do I have a motion?
I move we, excuse me, I move we approve the Clearwater parking lot project change order as presented by Mr. Boots.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That is approved 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Boots.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to number 8 on our agenda, our IXL contract. Mrs. Conti.
Good evening, President Fry, Dr. Taylor, and members of the board. I'm here this evening seeking approval for a 3-year contract for IXL. IXL is a online learning platform that provides personalized adaptive practice in English, language arts, and mathematics while delivering real-time diagnostic data to students and teachers. Through its diagnostic assessment, IXL identifies each student's current proficiency level and generates individualized learning pathways designed to address skill gaps, support grade level achievement, and accelerate academic growth. The platform includes targeted preparation resources for assessments such as the SAT, ASVAB, and WIDA, and aligns with district instructional priorities. Additionally, IXL integrates with the recently adopted HMH into literature curriculum for grades 9 and 10, providing students with supplemental practice opportunities that reinforce the skills related to core instruction and support mastery of grade level standards. This agreement represents an expansion of the North Central's current IXL implementation, which presently is limited to grade 9 ELA. The proposed contract would provide approximately 2,630 students annually at North Central High School with access to both IXL, ELA in grades 9 through 11, and mathematics in grades 9 and 10. As a supplemental instructional resource, IXL will complement existing curriculum materials, assessment systems, and intervention structures while providing additional opportunities for personalized learning, targeted skill development, and progress monitoring. The anticipated outcomes of this expanded implementation include increased student achievement in English language arts and mathematics, greater readiness for advanced coursework, and improved performance on college and career readiness assessments, including the SAT. Approval of this item will authorize the district to enter into a 3-year agreement with IXL Learning for student and staff access to both IXL ELA and mathematics are central. The total cost of the 3-year agreement is $134,625, representing an annual cost of approximately $17.06 per student based on current enrollment. And I am happy to answer any questions at this time.
Questions, board? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Move to approve the 3-year IXL contract for the 26-27 through 28-29 school years as presented by Ms. Conti.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, no. And the ayes have it 5-0. Thank you for being here, Mrs. Conti. And Mrs. Brownell, action item number 9, the approval of our Washington Township Online Academy Handbook.
Good evening, President Fry, Dr. Taylor, members of the board. I've come to you this evening requesting board approval for our proposed 2026-2027 WTOA student handbook. As a newly established school within MSD WT, the handbook was created to establish clear operational expectations, student procedures, academic guidance, and support structures for students and families participating in the WTOA program. Development of this handbook included alignment to the MSD WT board policies, district procedures, applicable state and federal laws, as well as a review of the North Central High School student handbook and best practices from established virtual and blended learning programs across Indiana. Particular attention was given to student engagement, attendance expectations, academic integrity, communication systems, digital citizenship, student support services, and virtual learning requirements. As a year one school model, the handbook also establishes foundational procedures and expectations to help support students, families, and staff during the initial implementation launch. I believe the proposed handbook is a clear and comprehensive framework for the successful launch and operation of WTOA while supporting student success, safety, engagement, and future readiness. I also request the board grant permission for minimal adjustments to the handbook as necessary to maintain alignment with updated legislation, district policies, state guidance, platform changes, operational needs, or legal requirements throughout the 26-27 school year. Any substantive revisions will continue to be communicated to district leadership and to the board as appropriate. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions, board? Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the Washington Township Online Academy Handbook as presented by Mrs. Brownell. Is that correct?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And the ayes have it 5-0. Thank you very much for being here, Ms. Brownell. And sorry, my board docs apparently just exited out.
Dr. Pettigrew.
All right, number 9. Sorry, we have Dr. Pettigrew with our exact path renewal.
President, Dr. Taylor, members of the board, I'm here today to seek for approval to enter into a 1-year contract with Edmentum for Exact Path Growth, a personalized learning platform for math and reading. Platform will be utilized for students in our elementary and middle school. It was initially introduced district-wide this past school year, and it was an approved vendor from the Indiana Department of Education. Exact Path was approved by the DOE because it integrates iLearn checkpoints and summative assessment data to personalize students' learning path. Upon syncing iLearn scores, the platform automatically generates individualized learning pathways in math and reading for every student, whether they are below, at, or above grade level. The total financial impact is $86,950.72 for K-8. It is funded through the Formative Assessment Grant and Curricular Textbook Funds. We may apply for up to 2 assessment allocations per grade level, so that is math and reading. There were 5 approved vendors for the math platform and 4 approved vendors for the reading platform. In Edmentum, Exact Path Growth is an approved vendor for both. We were fortunate this year to have the iLearn data sync, and it's already configured and operational, meaning that a year 2 would bring immediate student access without any setup delays. At this time, I request approval and will answer any questions.
Questions, board? Do I have a motion?
Move that we approve exact path renewal as presented by Dr. Taylor.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And the ayes have it 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Pettigrew. And last but not least, another handbook revision item.
Madam President, Dr. Taylor, members of the board, I'm here to seek board approval for 2 related actions. Handbook resolution, as state statutes are periodically updated, timely handbook review is necessary to maintain accuracy and compliance. The resolution attached in your board packet authorizes the superintendent or designee to make minor administrative handbook updates without requiring a separate board action for each change. All revisions would be reviewed and approved by the superintendent and communicated to the board. The second related action is the Code of Conduct update. At the May board meeting, the Code of Conduct was presented and approved with the acknowledgement that updates from the Indiana Department of Education were anticipated. We have since received notification of 2 revisions, the addition of Code 22 misconduct and Code 23 robbery. These additions align the district's Code of Conduct with current IDOE.
Board, any questions? I did just have, I guess, one comment, so discussion, but the resolution that is attached, that is kind of to address at the last meeting. I had kind of expressed some concern about a past practice of authorizing changes without there being some sort of like actual written resolution attached separately. So that's what that is. And so that will address ongoing the issue of we are also authorizing you to make the minor changes needed to be made without coming to us each time. So I want to make sure the rest of the board knew that as well. Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
That we approve the district code of conduct updates and resolution authorizing student handbook revision as presented by Dr. Taylor.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I'll call the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And passes 5-0. Thank you. All right, that concludes our action items for the night. And now we do have one very important and very exciting information item. And I will invite the team to update us on our 1-year progress report for our district strategic plan.
Yeah, thank you, President Fry. I'm going to kick things off again this evening. It's a little muggy in here, so we're going to try to bring the energy, right, team? We're going to try to bring the energy and bring the level up in here a little bit as I feel myself being like, man, it is tired all of a sudden. Like, so we're going to try to bring it here. So as is past practice, we like to bring to the board and our community an update of our progress. And tonight we do an end of year. I'm going to present to you an end of year board update and community update on our progress of our strategic plan. We did this at the mid-year point. What's a little bit different about this time around is I've asked the team to just kind of highlight some specific initiative progress that they'd like to share, maybe some artifacts to review with the board. And we will start with our partners in education at Elements. Ms. Denise Racinos is here this evening. As you know, Ed Elements helped us build our strategic plan last year, and they've stuck with us this year and has helped us launch and implement our plan so far. And so we appreciate Education Elements and all their work that they've done. Miss Denise is going to be with our team tomorrow for our admin retreat to talk about strategic management, because now it's, we built the vision, now it's all about implementation and how do we accelerate and do an extremely good job of implementing. And so again, just want to take the time to say thank you to Ms. Racinos and the Education Elements team. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to you.
For having us this evening. So what we're going to do today is give you an update on the progress for the year 1. We will also share insights from the data tackle survey that was conducted this year. The pillar leads will share progress on their pillar areas, and then finally we'll give you a preview of what's for year 2. So here is just a quick overview of what we did during year 1. So this year we focused on ensuring that everyone was aligned. First, we were implementing the strategic plan, and now we are moving away from the alignment piece into year 2, which is the acclimation phase. And for this acclimation phase, what we are doing is we're thinking about how are we now testing and piloting those goals that we set up during the year. Here you can see what we're focused on. So again, it was on alignment. So the pillar areas were having those metrics for fidelity, effectiveness, and impact. They also had action plans aligned to their areas, and then collected baseline data, looking at what is going on this year, and as they collected that data, making sure that their progress monitoring, looking through your action plans to see what benefits need to be adjusted as needed. They also held monthly pillar team meetings, and then during those pillar meetings, goals, and finally sharing updates. Here you can see an outline in terms of all the different touch points and the learnings that we had throughout this year. So we've had a series of in-person touch points as well as virtual touch points throughout this year. So pillar teams, they met monthly to ensure that they were looking through their action plans and working towards their goals. And throughout this year as well, we've had different we were gathering feedback, whether that was through the data triangle survey or also conducting surveys. And now, and later on in the spring, we had some time to do a retrospective to think through what was all accomplished throughout this past year and what are we looking towards. These were all the different teams. So we together, education elements, worked with the project team, pillar teams, and the steering team to think through what are the specific goal areas out from the beginning of the year, and then throughout the year, we look at those action plans and think about how are we meeting these goals, what necessary steps need to be made, and together we really how do we also communicate this out to the schools, to families, to students, to ensure that everyone's on goals. This was the concept that we used, the 1% change. So action plans that pillar teams worked on, they were thinking through this 1% change of what are those small marginal gains that I can make, that we as a team can make, that will get us 1% better each day. So thinking about those short-term actions that eventually will lead us to that 1%. So thinking about this year ones, what were those small shifts that we can make that eventually after year 5, once we look at everything that's been accomplished for this retreat, then we think about what are those small things that we were doing, gaining that eventually over time, we're going to grow to lead to that. I will now jump into providing more information about what was discussed in those insights from the data triangle survey. So in total, we had 885 participants, and 616 of those were families and community members. We had school and district staff participate as well, and those responses were 269. And the purpose of this data triangle survey was to gather data from constituents across the community to inform those priorities. The different areas that we looked at for the data triangle survey were 4 different constructs. So we were looking at constructive support and feedback. So that is thinking about how well are teachers in providing instruction, learning, support, and feedback to students. We also looked at student learning and engagement. So thinking about how well are schools in Washington Township motivating, challenging, and engaging students. And then we also looked at school culture and safety. So measuring how well are schools, how well are they in creating a community where there is a positive climate, fairness, safety, and a positive staff to student relationship. And then finally, student experience and well-being is thinking about how well do students feel supported, connected, and so those were the 4 different concept areas that were measured. Based on the data that was conducted, here are a few insights that we gathered. So what we learned is that at Washington Township, we know that there is a strong foundation of trust. So families, they had positive perceptions across all of those survey domains, those four constructs. We also saw school leaders had the highest rating across all of the across all the constructs. And in terms of the four constructs that we looked at, student experience and well-being emerged as the strength for the district. One opportunity for us to look ahead is just thinking about how can we align perceptions across district groups. We noticed that teachers, support staff, and district staff, they reported lower perceptions than school leaders. So thinking about how can we ensure that we strengthen communication and that shared understanding of the district priorities. And then just looking ahead for thinking about how can we continue to improve the culture and behavioral supports here to ensure that all students and staff experience fair, consistent, and supportive. Also thinking about how do we increase those opportunities for students' feedback, set goals, and take ownership of learning, and then finally continuing that family partnership to ensure that there are opportunities for them to be involved in student success and staff action. As mentioned before, the pillar teams looked at different metrics for measuring the implementation of their action goals, thinking about the fidelity, effectiveness, and impact metrics. So for fidelity, it's thinking about did the initiatives that we had laid out, were they implemented as intended and planned? We also looked at the effectiveness. So thinking about did they produce that desired effect, and that impact metric is thinking about are we going to have those long-term sustained changes over time. Each pillar area had different metrics laid out. So I won't read one of them because they're very detailed, but in a bit, each pillar, a lead will come up and share information about one specific area, one specific initiative that they worked on. And with that, we will jump in, and Rivers Sunnyfall will provide the first week.
Join me, and we want to give an update on Rigorous Learning for All. So since our January update, we've made meaningful progress, and so we want to highlight an area in each of these initiatives. So in the very first, our first initiative focused on bringing cohesion and clarity to our instruction framework. And so what you have in your board packet is the Blueprint for Learning. There is a link connected there. And so for a long time, guidance for our teachers and staff have lived in multiple places. So documents here, folders here. And so we decided to, as part of our Blueprint for Learning, to bring all of it together in one place. And so it will include our pacing guides on our hub. It will include our SEL, our NTSS guidance, and all of that will be in one cohesive place. It is teacher and staff facing. And so it is a district-wide standards-aligned framework that clarifies what students learn, why it matters, how learning should happen, how we provide assessments, and what success looks like. It addresses everything from NTSS, as I stated, SEL, to curriculum, to grading, to the assessments that we provide in every level. And then lastly, I want to comment that we did get input from teaching and learning and student services. We also received input from our principals and assistant principals, from our coaches and teachers through our pacing guides as well. Our NTSS and Branching Minds is our second initiative. And when we presented in January, we had just launched our pilot at Allisonville and North Central. We had completed 3 days of our 4 NTSS training. At this point, we have completed all NTSS database training conclusion a couple of weeks ago. We have also provided training for Branching Minds, which is a significant piece of this specific initiative. So all NTSS teams, which includes teachers, coaches, administrators, support staff, they were all trained on the implementation of Branching Minds in our remaining schools. And so going into this year, they have a clear picture of how Branching Minds will be utilized in their NTSS teams. And of course, North Central and Allisonville are a year ahead in that training and will have different goals that we have established. As we head into the 26-27 school year, we know that all of our schools will be prepared to begin that initial launch, Branching Minds in the fall. We actually have an additional training this Friday to ensure that we are designing the implementation in the fall around the needs of our buildings. And so that is upcoming. And we're excited by where we're going with Branching Minds. As you're aware, Branching Minds is a platform that provides all the student data, and it allows us to document and manage and monitor how we support students. That's all we need. The third initiative was our student support services tracking, and this was 100% of our student services teams track data, and every school produced an end-of-year report, and those are the flashlight one-pagers that you saw in your board document. These reports give a snapshot of how each school's counselors and social workers spend their time. Sorry about that. And then 100% of our school social workers implemented SCUDA, which was a use of time tracking tool. So that allows us to see across all levels how time is being distributed between direct services, planning and consultation, and building needs. So both the flashlights and the SCUDA give us a more clear and cohesive picture of how we are supporting students. I will now turn it over to Dr. Seaver, who will provide us.
Thank you. Good evening, President Fry, Dr. Taylor, members of the board. We've made some strong progress in the lane of career and technical education and dual credit within the past semester and year. There are multiple areas of progress to provide, but I wanted to highlight for you two particularly exciting developments. First, we've hired two new teachers at JEL for HVAC and biotechnology pathways. Both were considered hard to fill positions, given the unique qualifications required for workplace specialist roles. Not only were we able to fill them, both teachers already meet the Ivy Tech dual credit credential requirements, meaning that students will have the option of earning dual credit in those courses next school year. This is especially exciting because it's really not uncommon for us to launch a course for high school credit first, and then within a couple of years have the teacher work toward that college credit credential. So it's really exciting that we'll be able to offer both these pathways from day one with both high school and college credit. Second, we are partnering with Fifth Third to embed work-based learning directly into our personal financial responsibility class. This is a core class under the new diploma beginning the class of 2029. And this approach will give every North Central student an opportunity to earn work-based learning toward an honors student. So we're excited about that because that will not require transportation or time outside of the school day, which is often required for work-based learning. So that concludes our update with level 1. I will pass it to Dr. Swensky to talk about community.
Well, I'm really excited to share the work that's been happening in community connection. Again, we have 3 pillars or the 3 areas that we have been focusing on. I'll leave the top one for last because that's the most exciting. 2 other initiatives that we have been working on. One included looking at orientation and what that looks like for new families in Washington Township. We wanted to look at common themes. So the team and I, we conducted a survey of all of our building principals to ask, what does new student orientation look like? We have synthesized that information to come up with common themes, and the team and I are going to be working on what are those must-dos for the MSD of Washington Township and what are those may-dos. So we want to make sure that we have a cohesive, welcoming environment, but also that we allow our buildings to have autonomy. We want all of our families to be welcomed into Washington Township, regardless of what school that they attend. They should have some common feelings. So we are tackling that right now. We have synthesized that information and we will be moving forward into the developmental phase. One of our 3rd pillars was that of community engagement and looking to create a hub of resources for how our community can be involved. We've been working with our communication team and they've been doing a lot with calendars. So our team has done a little bit of pivoting to determine how do we create a resource hub that lets our families know what is available to them. which will be linked to our website and also to our Panther Guide, which takes us to our greatest accomplishment to date. If you remember, in January, we came talking about partnering with S127 and creating a platform that allows our families to be aware of those transition moments. How are your students going to be connected, celebrated, and challenged as they move to those pivotal years? The team decided that we were going to start on the grade 8 through 9 transition. You all have a hyperlink that takes you to a Wix account where you can actually see the work that we have framed out. So what does it look like, and what does a student need to do, or what can a family expect when they arrive at North Central High School? How will they be connected, challenged, and celebrated? You will see that we have highlighted the grade level support team. We have hyperlinks, and everything drives our families back to the areas where they can find that information. There are certain assessments that our families take. There are calendar events. So as you can see, this is a working document, but we are very excited about what the platform looks like. Additionally, we are creating that resource guide. So simultaneously that's happening so families can be aware, and you can see the vision of our committee looking at what do students need to be able to know, understand, and do at grade K all the way through 12th grade. The team is finalizing that ninth grade Panther Guide. We have sought feedback from many stakeholders. We continue to receive that feedback. We continue to work with S127 to finalize. By the end of the summer, the committee and I will have a kindergarten Panther Guide ready to go, forward-facing for our families. We will also have a 6th grade Panther Guide, forward-facing for families. So families will be able to click on the Panther Guide based upon that grade level. They can also look to see what can my student expect all the way through Washington Township. But you can see that we have followed the district strategic plan, looking for how are we connected, how are we challenged, how are we celebrated, and how are we doing that to grow Panthers in every one of our grade levels. So we will be finalizing those 3 Panther Guides as well as the Family Resource Guide before we enter the 26-27 school year. And then next school year, we will be chunking out all of the other grade levels. So we are excited. We think our families will be excited, and our families will then know what to expect when they join whatever grade level they're joining. Thank you.
Okay, good evening. Tonight I am pinch hitting for Mr. Kneebone. Under his leadership, the Effective Communication Pillar team has focused on 3 specific initiatives. The first is an extensive communications plan. This plan, currently in draft form, includes clarity for who is responsible for various types of communication, the platform or mode in which we will communicate, and who is included in the target audience. This will encompass some already existing systems and information, like our crisis response templates, guidance for utilizing Parent Square, and as well as new updates, such as ensuring all of our websites are updated for upcoming ADA compliance requirements. The second area of focus is related to student communication. One of the fun aspects of our initial strategic plan work was gathering input and feedback directly from our students. A theme that arose was that many of our secondary students want to receive the same information we are sharing with parents, guardians, and caregivers. So we've been exploring options for communicating directly with our students and are excited to be able to add this to our communication plan in the near future. Finally, the initiative that will most obviously impact you and the school community is our collection and sharing of positive stories. There is so much for us to be proud of beyond our high graduation rate, competitive academic and athletic teams, and our nationally award-winning schools. There are inclusive programs like Unified Sports Field Day, philanthropic activities like student-led fundraisers, and partnerships like our All Pro Dads groups. It isn't possible for one person or even one department to keep up with all of these fantastic opportunities, successes, and celebrations. So the district has established a form for sharing positive stories, as well as an internal curation document. So these examples of how the community is positively impacting our district, and more importantly, how our district is positively impacting our community, can easily be shared. And now Dr. Kaiser will shine a spotlight on the organizational growth and development.
Thank you, Mr. Baum. Our organizational growth and development pillar team wanted to spotlight our work related to our initiative 1, which is to develop and implement a portal to streamline information useful to employee success. So we've developed a framework that we're calling the Washington Township Hub, and all departments have developed sites which include top resources, procedures, and a document library. All of these sites share a common formatting and naming structure for documents to facilitate easy access. I think we all professionally within our organizations are used to trying to go out and find information. And I cannot tell you, the important documents on the human resources page are in the same place as the important documents on the technology page, and in the same place in the student services page. And so for our staff to know, regardless of what page I'm looking at, I know how to navigate it. I know where to get to it. All that has been really, really exciting. It's out now. Our administrators have access to it. They are giving us feedback, and then we will be rolling that out to all staff next year. One really exciting aspect of it is that when I log into the hubs, I obviously log in with my role as administrator. A member of our child nutrition staff will log in with their role and will recognize that they are a member of our child nutrition staff. And the information that is available that I see is directly tailored to my role and the things that I do, which I think is going to be amazing. And then tomorrow, all the members of the executive leadership team, as we do our administrative retreat with our administrators from the district, we all are presenting our updates and information directly out of this. So that will be our central repository for everything. Thank you, Dr. Taylor. All very excited.
So excited.
The other initiative that I did want to just briefly touch on, I know we've talked a lot about our initiative to create that staff to student pipeline. And we talked a lot this year about that position that we created in transportation that kind of allowed us to build that process for the first time. But what we haven't talked to you about is that our goal with that is to double those paid internships for students each year. So we developed in year one of our strategic plan, we developed one. Next year, be two. Following year, 4. I will admit to you that the first time that I actually realized that that meant that we were going to have 16 in year 5 was when I was preparing this update. It is a daunting goal, but we are really, really excited to work our way with doubling those. And then the added piece is through some work with our work-based learning coordinators through that process. We're also really exploring what does it look like to provide internships that may not be paid, but will allow students to do the 75 hours that are necessary for them to reach the honor seal in the new diploma programs. We're exploring both options, and we're very excited. So excited for you to see the hub soon and to have that up and available for you.
Yeah, Dr. Kaiser, if you don't mind staying there and helping drive the rest of the way. So as we discussed last time, we wanted to make sure that there was a public-facing dashboard that spoke to our implementation progress as well as our outcome progress. And so what you'll see on slide 25 is we're updating the implementation dashboard with a summary of the updates that you received this evening. And if you click on that link there, you can see that it's much easier to follow than kind of what you're seeing right there, but that fully grasps everything that we're taking on right there. But then we have our goals, and we know, we heard loud and clear from our community that, hey, we can raise the expectations. Our students and staff can do it. So let's make some really bold goals. And so we've set those 5-year bold goals. And we also wanted to track our progress towards those goals. And so on our strategic plan dashboard, it's a bit premature to share all the data updates relative to our goal progress, but some things to celebrate as we continue to celebrate our increased graduation rate goal being met. We anticipate that that will be even higher in celebration for next school year. So shout out to our high school team and secondary leadership. We also anticipate improved iRead scores and are excited to learn more about our iLearn results as well. Those will be coming later this summer, early fall. We are, if you look to the right of that dashboard and looking at our attendance, we're still working strategically on raising those attendance rates. This is not certified yet, but we anticipate we'll be down a little bit in that attendance rate compared to last year. I've seen a couple different overall percentages in the 94% range and in the 93% range. So we'll see what that certifies at with the DOE later on this summer. And then the discipline was an incredibly bold goal. And we know we have our school leaders who are, now wait a minute, this really means 0 or 1 discipline offense for every student in our school. And we're like, yeah, we're going to be bold. We're going after this. And so we're a little bit declined a little bit on that goal. But as we're working with our schools during our school improvement plan review process, there's just so many students that are coming to school every day doing the great work in this district, and super proud of our school leaders, our staff, and our students for their progress. So we'll continue to update that. We'll have the staff retention piece a little bit later this month. And so as we can update that, I'll make sure that the board is aware. So as far as next steps, though, it's important to know where we're going this next year. And so this next year is kind of categorized as an acclimation year, where we're going to put a little bit more of these initiatives to the test and see, how are they doing? Like the hub, we're ready to go on the hub, the family guide. Let's test them and see what progress we're making, what we're learning from those tests. Our partners with Education Elements, they're kind of getting out of the driver's seat, and they're handing me and our exec team the keys to the Cadillac for a little while. So we'll see how that goes. But we plan to continue a similar cadence of how we met and worked on the work this school year. So that'll be starting tomorrow with the June admin retreat, monthly pillar meetings, quarterly exec progress reviews, semester progress workshops where we'll take a full day and dive into it as a team. And then mid-year and end-of-year board and community updates will continue per past practice as well. And so that is it for our updates. Thank you, team. We'll go ahead and turn it over for questions at this point in time.
I guess I have one question. This is for Dr. Skiditsky, actually, because it's kind of about the Panther Guide. And I realized what we had was, still kind of in draft form. But have you gone through the process of, because, it's a lot of links, right, to other things, of kind of auditing. Okay, so if I'm interested in athletics and the way this is laid out, I see, okay, cool, I want to find information on athletics at North Central. Have you gotten to the point yet? Are you going to get to the point of going, okay, but once I point them there, does the athletics website have the right information presented in the right ways and things like that? So I guess how does that work in your work in terms of, we've got the family guide, but the things that are feeding into it, how do we make sure they are where they
I love that question, and I'm going to call for an assist from Dr. Taylor, because I know that Dr. Taylor is also doing some work with athletics.
Yeah.
But the goal is, President Fry, that it should be feeding to the accurate information, and that source of truth would then be the website for athletics. But I know, Dr. Taylor, you are dovetailing and you are doing something very similar, so I'll let you speak.
Yeah, so it's really about ownership, right? And so we know the family guide will have different owners in terms of what they're responsible for updating. Overall, though, it's going to live under student services. So student services will be part of their annual responsibilities to check and make sure that we have updated information, and that information is accurate for families and ready to go for that next year. But you're right, it will be athletic directors that are responsible for updating athletic pages. It's going to be counselors that are responsible for updating course information, all that. So it will require management for sure.
The goal is that we want to teach people to fish, right? So
Yeah.
to the point, we have all of these resources available, but if we create this aesthetic document that drives them through, we're just taking them back to their sources of truth. And then that information, because that is currently owned by someone. My point, what you are doing a Panther athletic guide, correct, as well? You're championing that with.
Yeah, so it's really a curriculum guide for K-12 articulation of youth development and athletics across all the board. So we're working with our athletic directors, Dr. Seaver's team. She's leading and is working with our athletic directors, working with our varsity coaches to make sure we have clarity on articulation in terms of what are youth development opportunities that currently exist in Washington Township. As far as Panther youth opportunities, what opportunities exist? What does that look like in K-1-2? What does that look like in 3-4-5? And then how does that transition into middle school and high school? So we're looking at that articulation so that parents understand at each point of their child's Washington Township journey, they know what opportunities exist and who to contact if they want more information.
Yeah, I think my watch out is just obviously the sources of truth, right? Is because all the work you do here is great, but if the sources of truth, like, and athletics is just one. Like if I clicked on, it's not live yet, but if I clicked on academic supports, but then the information on when does the learning center open and what are the hours and what's the process for a pass, if that information isn't good where you go, then, you know, so that's, I guess, my comment to watch for. Thank you.
Just want to make a comment on the public dashboard. I thought it was great. I think it's great that we're making it accessible, so the progress can be tracked for those who in the public.
And in a simple, easy to read format. So you're absolutely right. We don't have to dig like we've had to do in the past and pull that stuff out. This is right in your face, and that's really good.
As Dr. Kaiser always stresses, everybody loves a good dashboard, right, Dr. Kaiser?
Now, I want to add to that. I mean, that my favorite slide in all of this is that Latin one at the end, that gold dashboard. And it's not always going to be, you know, it's not always going to be all unicorns and rainbows on that dashboard, but it's that, you know, that's what I want to see as a board member. And that's what the community wants to see. So that'll. All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you everybody for your work and your time. Last thing on the agenda tonight would be our special events and liaison reports. I'm gonna start in the middle with Stephen today.
I did the board policy committee. School's been out. It's not really a school board duty, but I'm on the booster club, and so been helping with. Oh, I know what I did. Not school board related, but I stayed up to 3 a.m. for a blast off. And was the food co-chair, and so that was a lot of fun with Dr. Kaiser and team. And so I spent about 2 hours serving Rita's Italian Ice, which was donated by Rita's Italian Ice. That was a big hit, and really cool. We got about over $1,000 worth of food from local people in the community. Jersey Mike, Greek's Pizza, Chick-fil-A donated for the event. So and huge success as far as attendance from seniors. It was like an increase of like 20 or 30%. Students who came. So it was a lot of fun. And something unique that we do in our district that I don't see the other school districts do. So
All right, I'll go down to Ms. Horst Kruger.
Kind of quiet on my front, but I haven't been really being lazy. We have a wedding. Our daughter's getting married Sunday, so I've been a little preoccupied with that. Looking forward to getting back into the mix of things at a little more active level next week. Well, maybe the week after.
Same thing. Not the wedding, but I haven't done anything really in the district. But I will put Mr. Thompson on the spot. He got engaged recently.
Yeah.
You notice the hairdo. I don't know if you've seen the hair, but he's got.
Tell us everything.
He's supposed to tell us that because he does stuff outside the district too. Yeah.
do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, and you guys did go to graduation, by the way.
Oh yeah. That's like a duty. I mean,
They all went to the W Awards because I was there with them. They all went to graduation because I was there with them.
On that note, go ahead, Deirdre.
Thanks for that's like
So I went to the W Awards. I'm not sure where they were. I also went to graduation. Not sure where they were either. And then the policy committee meeting. I've been off the grid. I don't know if you guys know I'm working on a doctorate, and the literature review pretty much took me out. So I'm just in my corner for a little while. Anybody with doctor out there knows exactly what I'm talking.
And yeah, I everything's been a blur since last time because I graduated a kid. So yes, I was at the W Awards, which were great as always. I was at, graduation and I was at the senior parent luncheon and I don't even remember all the things now. I was actually very sad. I had to cancel my sign up for Blast Off because between family in town and all the events, I was exhausted and I had a very high stakes trial at 9 a.m. on Friday. And I was like, probably owe it to my client to not be up until 3 a.m. So I was sad to miss that. But all the things. And my child successfully graduated and contributed to that graduation rate. And I feel like there was something else on my mind I was gonna say, and it is gone. So that's it for us. I think that concludes our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Okay.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.